Well, as the president tries to shore up the votes on health care reform, could Mr. Massa's accusations actually affect the vote? Chris Wilson is a GOP pollster and consulted on 50 congressional races last cycle. And Dick Harpootlian is the former chairman of the South Carolina Democratic Party. Afternoon, gentlemen.
Good afternoon.
So you confirm eyes down, eyes down. They should not have been making eye contact anyway.
Just not too far down.
Okay.
No, I think you.
That's right. Okay.
No, well, yeah, absolutely. Eyes up.
Good to know.
Eyes up.
Good to know. Okay, but listen, separate and apart from the weird tangent about the naked encounter, which is, clearly an image none of us needed in our heads, does he raise any points, Dick, that concern you in terms of Rahm Emanuel and strong-arm tactics that might actually wind up hampering Rahm Emanuel between now and the actual vote?
No, I think this guy has clearly come unhinged. Remember, last Wednesday, he was resigning because of cancer. Thursday, it was because of salty language. Friday, he was resigning because of an ethics investigation. And then finally, on Saturday, it had something to do with health care. And today, it's Rahm Emanuel's the devil's spawn. This guy has got some serious issues. He needs to take a break. And by the way, he resigned. Nobody forced him to resign. He needs to get off the stage and let Washington get to work doing what it's got to do. And that is people of both parties with common sense, like we saw this week on one of the talk shows, Evan Bayh and Lindsey Graham coming together, looking for common ground to try to move this country forward. Let's not get distracted with this paparazzi crap.
But, Chris, Eric Massa made such a big deal out of Rahm Emanuel and his tactics with respect to the cap-and-trade vote and the health care vote and other votes and the colorful language that Rahm allegedly used and so on. I mean, my question is, could that actually wind up hurting the White House between now and March 18th? Because will Rahm Emanuel feel at all handicapped about doing similar things if, in fact, he did those?
Well, it does slow him down. I think it's interesting, though. Everyone comments on the devil's spawn. No one brings up the comments about his mother or his children. It's like everyone accepts that to be the truth. They know that that's who he is. And I think there's no secret in Washington of who Rahm Emanuel is, the kind of language he uses, and the way he treats people. And so from that standpoint, I think this does probably cause him to back down a little bit, because the way that Massa is taking it to him is probably putting the White House in a fairly uncomfortable situation. But that having been said, there's an old saying, not to continue too much about the locker room conversation, when someone's standing around urinating on their own leg, you don't get between them and their leg. And that's sort of what you see happening here with the Democratic Party. They're in a really bad situation. This is why America really looks down on Washington, can't figure out what in the world's going on up here. And it does put the entire health care debate and the situation with the White House trying to lobby their fellow Democrats to support health care in a bit of a precarious situation. I think it creates challenges for them to get the vote passed.
But on the other hand, Dick, just to pick up on the narrative, I'll quote my idol, Judge Judy, who says, "Don't pee on my leg and tell me it's raining." And there is a real question here, as you raise, about whether that's what Congressman Massa is trying to do, because he keeps blaming the White House and the administration, Democrats, for forcing him out of Congress. But at the end of the day, he didn't have to resign.
Absolutely. And remember now, this is a guy that differed with the White House because he was for the public option, much more liberal than the Obama plan. So, I mean, let's not cry for this guy. I mean, and again, he's had a different story every day, and I think the mental illness story is the one we're going to hear next.
Is there any hypocrisy here, Chris, on the right, by holding up Eric Massa as, this champion, as a guy who's standing up to the White House when, this was a guy who, obviously he's embroiled in an ethics scandal. He, as Dick points out, was actually for the public option. I mean, it's not. We actually ran video of him a few months ago saying, "I don't care what the constituents in my district want. I'm going to vote the way I see fit," and so on. So is there any hypocrisy here in holding him up as a hero?
Well, if you saw someone from the right defending him and saying this is who we're trying to hold up as an example, the way to stand for the White House, I would agree there was absolute hypocrisy. But I'm not seeing that. In fact, I see for the most part the right's trying to stay away from this. But if there are questions being asked, it's what happened with Rahm Emanuel. It's how long ago was the ethics complaint filed? Who filed the ethics complaint? How long did Nancy Pelosi know about this before it came out? She was very critical of the amount of time that Republicans knew about Mark Foley, rightfully so. And I think those same questions need to be answered here. But really, this is, I would almost agree with Dick, I think this is less about Massa and more about the effect on the vote. And there's no question, if we want to look at the numbers here, this takes the number of votes the Democrats need from 217 down to 216. That's not insignificant. And so if there is something that went on behind the scenes and that Rahm Emanuel was able to accomplish that through some sort of creepy encounter in the shower, it's worth looking into. But I don't want to make it out as if this is about Massa. It's about health care.
Dick, are you concerned at all? I mean, as a Democrat, are you concerned at all about Massa's descriptions of Rahm's behavior? And it's not just Massa, let's be honest. I mean, the reports about Rahm Emanuel's strong-arm tactics come from both sides of the aisle and have for a while.
Well, I mean, I think that a lot of things go on behind the curtain in in the land of Oz. I grew up with Lee Atwater here in South Carolina. I knew Lee well, and I knew his tactics and how tough he was. And I've known Rahm since '92 in the Clinton campaign. He's one tough guy, but he's the guy you want in the foxhole with you. He's the guy you want fighting for you. And if people in Washington are so sensitive that a little tough language is going to drive them to resign, my goodness gracious, what happened to the Strom Thurmonds and the Fritz Hollings and the tough guys? This is silly.
You may want him in the foxhole
I'll take him in the foxhole. I just don't want him in the shower.
In the shower with you. Yeah, and we'll leave it at that. Thank you, gentlemen.
Well, I don't want Massa in the foxhole with me.
Okay, thank you. I don't know. Gentlemen watchers, did they state the rules accurately? You tell me. This is something women do not need to worry about.